Hi, this is Charles Hoskinson broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. Always warm, always sunny, sometimes Colorado. Today is November 26, 2024. Thanksgiving is coming, and I'll be flying out soon to Argentina for the Constitutional Convention. We're also sending a full delegation to Kenya for the other part of the convention, and we're working very hard to make sure that both experiences are merged appropriately. It is truly remarkable and extraordinary to see the level of progress that has been done on the Cardano Constitution. For after the integration and the publication of it on the 20th, there's already been a huge amount of feedback. And actually, one of the spaces I think had over 60,000 viewers, which is pretty extraordinary when you think about it. People taking the time to talk about a blockchain constitution and have 60,000 people actually want to be part of that, which is pretty special. But in any event, I want to talk a little bit about something I've been involved in a very, very long time. So, as many of you know, I started in the Bitcoin space and I loved Bitcoin. And Bitcoin has been a big part of my life. And the only reason I'm here today is because Bitcoin exists. I would be doing something else in life and wouldn't be a cryptocurrency entrepreneur had Satoshi not created Bitcoin. Like many people who started with Bitcoin in the very early days, I had a great degree of frustration with the lack of evolution and progress, and the fact that just didn't seem like there was an appetite for new approaches and ideas. So I went on and got into the altcoin side of the world and worked on BitShares, Ethereum, and later Cardano. But I never lost the love of Bitcoin. In particular, with Cardano, I took a lot of ideas from the Bitcoin space and tried to evolve and grow them. For example, the Cardano Native Asset Standard, how people issue assets on Cardano, that's actually a reflection of studying color coins. And when you look at UTXO style accounting, we took that for Cardano and created extended UTXO and basically finished what Satoshi started in terms of the development model. And my frustration was that all these amazing innovations would never come home. Bitcoin would stay Bitcoin, wouldn't change or evolve. And it, in many ways, then became like a dead project where there's plenty of people there, but it's not pushing the ball forward anymore and creating a decentralized society and changing the economic, political, and social systems. Well, some people didn't lose the passion and the torch, and I at times was unfair in my criticism because under the hood, after SegWit, they created something called Taproot, which I've spent quite a bit of time recently reviewing. And it turns out that innovations built on top of this ecosystem are allowing some degree of programmability for Bitcoin. Not enough for it to ascend to what Cardano can do or Ethereum can do, but enough for Bitcoin to begin to talk to other ecosystems. And when combined with technology like nested transactions, our variant of Babel fees, it basically means that you can create a DeFi layer for Bitcoin and pay transaction fees in Bitcoin. The revelation of this, and after reviewing the technology, realizing that it actually has a path to work, reinvigorated my love of the ecosystem because Bitcoin went from a sleeping giant never to awaken in an innovation coma to an awakened giant that is 4 times the size of Solana and Ethereum combined. Reality is that should these floodgates open, it is my belief that DeFi and the Bitcoin ecosystem will eclipse DeFi and all ecosystems in the cryptocurrency industry within 24 months to 36 months. And that's just because of scale and liquidity. As good as Ethereum can be and Solana can be and Cardano can be, let's be intellectually honest about this. Governments are talking about a strategic reserve of Bitcoin and Bitcoin alone. It's their entry point. And perhaps in 5 or 10 and 15 years, that dialogue and narrative will change. But it is my belief that Bitcoin is going to go to $250,000 to $500,000 within the next 12 to 24 months because of the investment inflows and the great interest that has been achieved. This will translate to an ecosystem whose value is starting to approach that of gold, an asset humans have used as a store of value for over 5,000 years. Simply put, Bitcoin is the store of value for the internet, and it will remain in that role for the foreseeable future now that it has a DeFi layer. So one of the big strategic priorities for me in 2025 is making sure that Cardano doesn't get left out of this story. As we are in many ways a spiritual successor, it is the best place to write an application that is a hybrid application that has a Bitcoin mode and a Cardano mode. This is why we got initially very excited about the prospect of things like Bitcoin OS and Grail Bridge. I want to be very clear here. I understand the ethos of the Bitcoin ecosystem better than most, and they really don't like other tokens. And that's okay. It's their prerogative. Bitcoin earned the right to be Bitcoin. And as a result, it doesn't have to wake up every day and say, boy, I love all these other tokens floating around, all these other assets floating around. They want to say Bitcoin is king and we only want to live in Bitcoin land. There should be an option for people who hold that philosophy to be able to do so. Thus, whatever bridge exists and whatever hybrid application model that exists for Bitcoin DeFi, it's very clear to me that that model must include and ought to include, has to include an option where you always pay with your Bitcoin. Full stop. Other tokens pollute this narrative and, frankly speaking, will ensure the failure of the project. And this was our understanding when looking at these bridge mechanisms. And I want to introduce you to some of the underlying technology. Another advantage of being in space for so long is I kind of know how all this stuff works and I know who created it. So I can go straight to the source and have a conversation with them. So many of these major innovations were created by my dear friend Sergio Lerner. So I mentioned yesterday that I'm just going to go and talk to my friend, and he has something called Fairgate, and this is BitVM and BitVMX. So Robin Linus created BitVM, but Fairgate is an initiative to actually create an extension with a abstract CPU, a virtualized CPU based on the RISC-V instruction set that sits on top. So when you look at the design of it, there's a ton of really cool ideas in this architecture, but what this will eventually allow people to do is create an emulation layer that runs with Bitcoin securing it that allows general purpose programmability within reason. This is kind of the underlying concept of how one would start writing a bridge mechanism and a signaling and pub sub mechanism between Bitcoin and another cryptocurrency. And most recently, today, you may have noticed that on the Cardano mainnet, thanks to Plutus v3, we tested in our very first Halo 2 verification from the Halo 2 proof system. So it was an ad hoc threshold multi-signature scheme, ATMS, checking out 50 of 90 signatures. And here's where the transaction came through. Okay, so that right there is on the Cardano mainnet, not testnet, but mainnet. And the transaction fee for this is just 2 ATM for a very large proof. This type of innovation combined with this type of innovation, these are foundational building blocks, not the only, but they are necessary building blocks to actually create a hybrid application architecture where things talk to each other. So basically, what we want to achieve is you have a wallet, and your wallet is a Bitcoin wallet, and you basically have two sides to it. Okay. So the orange side is Bitcoin proper. This is the Bitcoin mainnet. And then the blue side, let's say this is the Cardano mainnet. Okay. And the concept is that your BTC here, you're going to click a button and say enable DeFi. And then you have DeFi Bitcoin. What this really is a Cardano native token. It's wrapped BTC under the hood. So this goes through a bridge. And the existence of these VMs basically make that bridge trustless over time. So it's a very strong, powerful trust model. It's basically unhackable. You know, nothing in life is truly unhackable, but it's as good as it gets in many cases if it's designed the correct way. Okay, so then once it's here, well, under the hood, this behaves just like anything else issued on Cardano, and because of Babel fees, you can pay transaction fees in this wrapped asset. And when they're done, we have a button, disable DeFi mode. And what it does is it burns those tokens and unlocks them on the Bitcoin network. Well, why do you do this? You do this because you can have a dApp ecosystem, and that dApp ecosystem can have all the things, the 1,000+ experiences that the Cardano ecosystem has created, plus external ecosystems thanks to Midnight and the bridges that are being built there. And Bitcoin, for the first time ever, can participate in that. So you can trade your Bitcoin on DEXs. You can use all kind of TVL stuff and yield-bearing instruments, et cetera, and get paid back in Bitcoin or stable coins or whatever the heck you want to be paid back in. And when you're done, just click a button and you go back to the Bitcoin network. Over time, the fees associated with this and the latency associated with this in terms of settlement time will improve. But this entire model basically allows people to think around a hybrid application. And I'm going to put a dedicated product manager, and we're going to call up all those people that I've been talking to throughout the last 14 years of my time at Bitcoin. And we're going to make sure that we figure out how these components fit together. And thanks to Babel fees, you pay in BTC. From a Bitcoin user's experience, this is at a wallet level, and supporting wallets can basically just upgrade. And now, for the first time ever, a Bitcoin user is going to have a dApp store. And first time ever, they just have a simple button that they click to enable a DeFi mode and disable a DeFi mode. And that's a seamless transaction. And once it settles, then they're in a DeFi ecosystem. And when they're done, they go back to Bitcoin. There you go. And there you have it. Okay. So if you're a Bitcoin maxi, why would you want to do this? Well, let's say that you want to participate in real world assets. You want to go to an exchange and maybe sell some of your Bitcoin, or you want to go ahead and purchase another token, but maybe you like a meme coin or something like that, or you're a Dogecoin fan. Well, under the old workflow, you'd have to go to a centralized exchange, turn over your Bitcoin to someone else's custody, go through KYC and AML, and hope to God that they let you withdraw it when we're done. That's what the legacy world is currently offering you. Completely centralized and completely outside of the be your own bank, not your keys, not your wallet mindset that Bitcoin grew up with. Well, under this model, you would send it to a different network that has a very strong security protocol. Ouroboros has been running for 7 years, 24/7, without disruption. And that security model basically gives you some certainty that when you are in DeFi mode, things are going to be running really well, and you have complete custody and control over your keys because you own the private keys on both sides. You use your DeFi, and when you're done, you go back to Bitcoin. Over time, Cardano is going to multi-resource consensus. So currently we have Ouroboros. When we look at the Omega age, we're going to add Minotaur at some point in the roadmap to that, which means that elements of proof of work from Bitcoin could potentially be used to also further secure Cardano. So more collaboration between Bitcoin and Cardano means the best of both worlds can come through, and these things can grow from each other. Okay. And through Cardano, you have a safe entry point to the rest of the cryptocurrency ecosystem, Sol and Sui and Ethereum. And if you're a Bitcoin developer, this is an extended UTXO system. This is a UTXO system. So if you learn Aiken, which should only take about 2 weeks, you can write a beautiful smart contract, and we can get interoperability on these virtual machines. We could build a compiler for that on the Bitcoin side. So you have one dev experience and dev language to be able to talk to Bitcoin and Cardano. So this is one of my highest priorities because I think Bitcoin's back and the sleeping giant has awoken, and Cardano has to take care of its destiny and path. And this technology doesn't belong to just one company. In fact, quite the opposite. This technology is the product of hundreds of people's labors and efforts like Sergio Lerner and others throughout the years. And Fairgate is just one of several. Robin's been working on this, and there's an emerging ecosystem for it. And it's very important that this finish its way through and people get these things done. And thanks to Taproot, Bitcoin has enough to do what it needs to do. There's still a lot of questions about cost and scalability. I was in a space recently with the Ordinal people, and a 20 kilobyte inscription on a Satoshi and Bitcoin costs about $400. So it does give you a sense of how expensive it is to utilize the Bitcoin mainnet. It's a very scarce resource. So a big part of this is concise representations and bridge logic, and some connecting tissue has to be built. And this picture under the hood is significantly more complicated than people realize. But you know what? We've been around for a very long time. And having been around for a very, very long time, sorry, I'm trying to find my StreamYard. Having been around for a very, very long time, this, there we go. Sorry. Having been around for a very, very long time means we have the people and we know where all the bodies are buried. We all know the connections are. We know all the people and how they operate and how they work. And, we're just going to get it done. We're just going to figure it out one way or the other. And it's a high, high priority for us. So it's good to work with old friends and it's good to talk to old acquaintances. And it's good to look at this old technology that people who carried the tireless torch and pushed forward and got it done and proved me wrong. I never really thought I'd have a conversation like this. I thought the Bitcoin days were over. It's good to come back home, and it feels a lot more comfortable than I thought it would be. And it's good to actually start innovating again. And I look forward to seeing Bitcoin enter this new era. The era of DeFi is going to be a big thing for it, but it's going to change the world. And actually, by adding this capability, it means that every government and institution also gets to play. And the fact that Cardano can play a role in that and it was designed to play a role in that is a really, really cool honor because it's going to mean the facilitation of movement, eventually trillions of dollars long term through a network into the rest of the cryptocurrency space. So excited to see it, excited to be part of it. We're going to go into deep product mode now. We already have our InfoSec people and cryptographers analyzing Fairgate's tech and other people's tech, and we're discussing around how to bring things quickly. And as I said, we're going to spit up a dedicated product group within the innovation team, and they're going to figure out how to put these pieces together. We're going to upgrade Lace to support Bitcoin. That will come in 2025. And the dApp store in Lace will enable this Bitcoin style DeFi, but we'll also go and talk to the Ordinals people and other ecosystems in Bitcoin that are a little bit more friendly to this and see if we can offer an upgrade for free to their wallets to have a DeFi mode in Bitcoin where they just simply click a button. And there's other partners we can bring in as well. The goal here is liquidity and the goal here is transaction volume. We're going to get this done one way or the other. And we're going to bring it to the industry and we're going to watch that sleeping giant awaken. Another thing why I was so miffed about the Wyoming stablecoin was that that was a natural path to bring the first asset-backed stablecoin into the Bitcoin ecosystem. The Cardano deal and what we were proposing was kind of a 3-for-1. You could do privacy preserving transactions using Midnight if Cardano is a very secure platform to issue, and then Bitcoin can have access to it and use it. And this would act as a wonderful competitor to Circle and Tether and basically create a much more fair market, forcing them to not take advantage of monopolistic practices. The fact that it got captured by Circle and deployed outside of this ecosystem meant that Bitcoin also lost that opportunity. And that's okay because there are others who are interested in that role. So this bridge, in addition to bringing DeFi to Bitcoin, potentially can bring a stable coin to Bitcoin. And we can even look at algorithmic stable coins, like, for example, Bitcoin collateral for JED, which is a really fascinating concept when one thinks about it. So a lot to say about this, a lot to do about this, but I do believe that we absolutely can get it done. So I'll make some periodic updates when we get a little further along. And then what I'm going to do is try to do this project in the open as much as possible. So whoever we choose to be the product person to lead this, I'm going to try to get them every 2 weeks to, in an agile way, showcase some demos of things they've done, like how we did the demo for the ATMS recursive signature that was done with Halo 2 on the Cardano mainnet. All right, everybody. Talk to you soon. Cheers.